Oh, good morning, everyone. This is our first look of the FBI, who was at the scene of a deadly explosion in a residential area in East Austin, a package that exploded. So this is the second package that exploded in as many weeks in Austin. The first one happened earlier this month, and in that case, one person opened up a package on their front porch and it exploded, and that person was sent to the hospital with critical injuries and later died at the hospital. This morning, exactly 2 weeks later, we had the Austin Police Department responding to yet another package that exploded, and this time it killed a teenager and injured another person, a woman, life-threatening injuries to that woman.
Yeah, as we saw those FBI agents walking towards the camera, I'd hoped they were coming to give an update, but that does not appear to be the case. Now, this is all happening at a home on Old Fort Hill Drive. If you don't know where that is kind of in the area between 51st and MLK. There's a map to give you a better sense of where this is happening. This is East Austin. That other incident that Sally had referenced 10 days ago, that was in the northeast part of town. But the situation here, this is a map showing that that first incident, I should say, the one that happened back on March 2nd, where a 39-year-old man was killed by a device in a package that exploded as well. Now, at the time when that happened, police said that they could not rule out that the man had made the device himself and that it had exploded. They're still investigating that, as well as this scene here, too. Our photographer kind of swinging around to give us a different perspective. What we're looking at is this is a CAP Metro bus that was brought in to evacuate people from this neighborhood. And our photographer, Todd Bailey, who was providing this picture for us, he was out there shortly after this all happened, and he had set up everything. And then police came up to him, and he told us quite urgently, told him, you need to move back, that they had found a second device. We would assume they're continuing to search for more at this point, but they have pushed some people so far back that our photographers have told us that it's hard to even tell which home they're focusing on.
And so right now, as Todd zooms into the Capital Metro bus, it's because you had neighbors who were evacuated because of this second suspicious package. And now the FBI agents are on this bus, possibly talking to some of those neighbors to see what did you see before this package exploded? Do you know the person who was killed in this? All questions that, of course, our reporter Chris Davis will be asking once we get a briefing from the Austin Police Department. Chris, you're at the scene. What can you tell us? Set the scene from your vantage point.
Well, first things first, Sally, that briefing should be happening sometime in the near future. Just a couple of minutes ago, we talked with a public information officer who was out here to tell us that they were just getting to the scene themselves. They're going to go and talk to the chief, Chief Manley. He is here on scene from what I understand, and at that point they will be able to tell us when we're going to find out some more information. I want to give you a sense for sort of where we are, though. You can see all of these flashing lights here behind me. It appears that police are focusing mainly on one street over from where we are, but they have a lot of these intersections blocked off. I've been chatting with a couple of neighbors when they're coming out of their houses, getting ready for work and headed out this morning, and they're confused. They don't really know what's going on themselves. Most of them, in fact, all of the ones that I've talked to said they haven't heard anything funny. They didn't see anything funny this morning. And so they're asking the same kind of questions that we are, is what exactly did happen here. So from what we understand, again, it's in a different part of the neighborhood. This part of the neighborhood is very quiet this morning. It's a normal morning for people who are getting up and getting out the door, except for this police presence that they're seeing blocking off parts of their neighborhood. So again, that media briefing should be coming up here in the next short period of time, and we will bring that to you when that happens. But for now, we'll send it back to you.
So, Chris, interesting, you said that those people that you talked with said they didn't even hear the explosion?
Yeah, that's right. I've talked to 3 or 4 people who were coming out, and not a single one said they heard anything suspicious this morning, heard the explosion at all.
That is very interesting. Chris Davis, we'll let you get back to work in the story. Thank you very much. So this live picture that we're looking at here, this is from a second photographer we have on the scene. This is not Chris Davis's location. if we pan to the left, we can see a big white truck that our photographer Todd Bailey told us was the bomb squad truck that arrived, and we had seen a number of heavily protected officers getting out of that truck, and some equipment as well. At one point there was a canine officer too. Hopefully though, a lot of these questions will be answered, or at least some of the questions will be answered when we get this briefing from police coming up.
Yeah, and we will, of course, bring that to you on KXAN.com and then also on social media as well. We'll continue to update you on this deadly package explosion, the second one in as many weeks in an Austin neighborhood. If you're just joining us this morning, you're looking at the scene unfold. Very fluid situation. The Austin Police Department is joined by the Austin Fire Department. The bomb squad, along with the FBI, now investigating to figure out, are these explosions connected? Are there any similarities? Did the people know each other in both of these instances? Of course, all questions that we are going to be asking, and hopefully we'll get some answers for you later on this morning. But we continue in the newsroom to contact our sources, and I can tell you that one of my sources from the Austin Tobacco and Firearms, or ATF, is telling me that they are definitely going to try to compare the devices to see if there's anything similar. They're going to look to see if the victims have any relationship to one another, because it's one thing that we are questioning this morning, and I'm sure that the Austin police brass are doing as well, is that, John, is there a public safety threat or a risk out there?
And also just finding out too from ATF that they have special agents en route to the area. They're still trying to get information on this as well. And one of the questions that I think will be perhaps somewhat important in this is, how did these packages arrive? Were
Correct.
they sent through the mail? Were they dropped off by hand? You know, one way you could say maybe then, you know, somebody might have seen a car that that did that, or were they going through the Postal Service or UPS or something like that to get to these places, which brings in another set of hazards about these types of things being transferred. But we don't know this. We are waiting to hear from police, who have not said much. All we're really basically relying on at this point is working on our sources and what we can report with our eyeballs.
And the FBI is now talking to some of the neighbors who have been evacuated from this area. They're on the Capital Metro bus, and they're asking them some of those questions as well. If we go back and talk about what we do know from the first package that exploded in Northeast Austin, we can tell you that when I was listening to the press conference with Interim Police Chief Brian Manley on that, he was making sure to let people know that they were not going to rule anything out with that explosion. They really didn't know much at that point, and they didn't know how the package was delivered. Was it in the mail? Was there somebody who delivered it in person by hand, or if that person stood there on the scene? There was not a lot of information or answers at that point, but the police chief did want to reassure people at the time that he did not think it was terroristic related. They weren't going to rule anything out, but they also weren't going to rule out other things that they were looking into. What he did say is that he did not believe at the time that there was somebody dropping off packages that were exploding on the front porch of homes, but that was the first explosion, and now here we are, the second explosion as well. And so you bet Austin Police, the ATF, the FBI looking at both of these explosions that happened in Austin this month.
We are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more coverage on the other side.